So it's another one of Pat McMahon's personality portraits, and the portrait in this case may look familiar. Jerry Colangleo, 1968, right? Coming from Chicago to Phoenix. I've never asked you this. Have you ever been here before?
2 weeks earlier, when I came for the interview, was the first time I had been to Arizona. I think I told you the story that I left Chicago when it was 20 below at O'Hare. I landed at Terminal 1, and it was 70 degrees, and I smelled orange blossoms for the first time. That made an impression on me, Pat.
And at Terminal 1, you just walked down the steps of the airplane, walked across the tarmac and
Correct.
into the terminal, right?
And then your luggage was right there within minutes.
But you were from
right
Chicago. There. You were there with WGN and WCFL and Wally Phillips.
And the Cubs and the White Sox and the Bears.
Yeah,
you're
a few
thinking,
of those things,
you know,
right?
yeah.
And so you came, and we had 3 rocks and pineapple.
Yeah, but there was a blank canvas as far as I was concerned, and it was an opportunity to come to a place that I felt had a real Western opportunity feel to it, a land of opportunity, and it was a time for me to have something to do on my own. In other words, start a franchise, create it. And as it turned out, it was the right decision. I could have stayed in Chicago. I could have gone to Milwaukee. I had those opportunities. I was a young guy in a growth industry, had those opportunities, and I'm glad, I believe I made the right decision.
If you hadn't gone into sports, what?
Originally, I thought I was going to end up coaching and teaching. I was in business, private business for a while. You know the old story about the tuxedo dry cleaning business that I was in, but that was a temporary thing. I was playing semi-pro ball for $50 a game and trying
baseball
to make
or basketball?
Basketball. My baseball career was gone because I threw my arm out at 17 and I couldn't throw hard anymore.
I just keep thinking of you and the University of Kansas in Lawrence.
Yes.
Kansas,
a Jayhawker.
Kansas, because Wilt Chamberlain was going to go,
Yeah.
and you guys were going to win the championship, the NCAA championship.
Yeah, right, right.
And what did he do?
Well, he quit. Freshmen couldn't play back in those days, and I lockered next to him, and one night we were out for dinner, and he said he was quitting to sign with the Globetrotters. He got $75,000. It was 1957, and I said, Wilt, you can't quit. I came here to play with you. He says, telling you right now, I'm gone. And so I transferred to Illinois, and that too was part of the plan that, not my plan, I always say God's plan for me, because there I met my wife at the University of Illinois, wife-to-be, now 51 years later. And because of name recognition in the Midwest, that led to an opportunity to help start a franchise, the Chicago Bulls.
Okay, but since 1968, though, the Bulls became general manager of the Suns. You brought us the Diamondbacks. You brought in the Coyotes from Winnipeg.
Right.
So you've been a sports guy all that time, but among the sports decisions that you made, in any of those sports that you were directly associated with here, are there any that you would change now? I don't mean a trade or anything like that. Any big decisions that you made, you said, you know what, I would go back and change that?
Pat, in life, life's too short. You don't look back on could have, might have, should have. Just go forward and keep making the decisions you make. I made a lot of mistakes. I'm sure you did in your life, in your business, but they really don't matter today anymore. I know one thing, I gave the best I could every day of my career in sports, and I'm proud of the accomplishments, but more importantly, I'm proud of what this community did in terms of response to everything that I've been involved in, so I appreciate that.
Tell me about this community since '68. The changes have been more positive than negative, do you think?
Sure. With growth comes issues, and there was a time this was a small community, run by a handful of people. There were about 700,000 people in the valley when I got here. Today there's 4.5 million. People talk about a lack of leadership in our community. I don't necessarily buy that. I think it's time for people to step up and take the bull by the horns and be the future generation of leaders, and I think they're here.
Hey, you know what was here when we both got here, and no matter how ancient you think I am, the wigwam was here a lot longer ago than my arrival or the arrival of almost anything except the ho-ho-coms. And now there's a brand new wigwam and you're involved with that.
Well, a few years ago, my partners and I were able to acquire the wigwam property out of bankruptcy. You know, it's an 80-year-old iconic Arizona property. It actually started the cotton industry back 80 years ago when the Goodyear Tire Company was looking for a place to grow cotton that was similar to what was being done in Egypt. And they fell on what is now Litchfield Park in Goodyear as the place to do it. And they created this little abode for their executives, and it grew into something larger. And it became a resort over the years. So I saw it back in the 60s and visited in the 70s and 80s. And you know, I fell in love with the place. It's a beautiful 440-acre piece of property. It represents Arizona to me.
3 gorgeous golf courses, played
330
by
rooms.
all the pros. And
Yes.
you like being in the hospitality business?
I've always been in the hospitality business. Think about it. You know, the theater, the arena, the ballpark.
That's right, you sold seats, but you could only sit there for 2.5 hours, then you had to go home.
It's only a matter of time.
Okay, finally, before we have to wrap this up, because we always do these briefly, promising everybody that
Yes.
you'll meet fascinating personalities here, I want to know about the Olympics and what we can look forward to.
Well, again, being responsible for the USA basketball portion of the Olympics, men and women's teams, we'll be loaded in terms of talent. That's only part of it. You need to execute. You need to go out and get the job done. We'll have a target on our backs. We're the defending gold medalists. We're ready for London. I've been there a number of times to prepare. And the great news is that our players want to play. They want to win. And I like our chances.
They want to do things Colangelo style?
Well, I don't know if it's my style. Coach K and myself are joined at the hip. You know, a Polish kid and an Italian kid, both from Chicago. And we do have our parameters, and we do have our objectives and our gold standards.
Including the way our players dress as they represent America, because I asked a tailor that was brought along in the, I believe it was the
Dave Nichols.
Beijing
Dave
Olympics,
Nichols,
wasn't it?
yes.
Right, and Dave, I said, Dave, listen, there's an urban basketball player, comes in from the streets, and he played 1 year of freshman basketball, got to wear anything he wanted to wear. What if he doesn't want to wear the outfit that you've prepared for him? He said, that was very easy. I just said, go see Mr. Colangelo. And you have met Mr. Colangelo again on Pat's Personality Portraits.